there's a game number 3 on the cards if MorroW is able to beat the STC.
Yep.
But the STC has the opportunity now to make it a 2-0. Let's get into the game and find out. Spawning in the top right-hand corner, ladies and gentlemen, as the red Terran player representing Western Wolves, an incredibly strong player, but going down 1-0 so far. Will he be able to take it? It is MorroW. His opponent spawning in the bottom right position as the blue Terran player, currently 1-0 up in this best of 3 series, really needs to try and crank up the pressure if he wants to take this series 2-0, because MorroW is very, very strong, as we saw in that last game, and there really wasn't much to tell these players apart. Let's see if he can do it. Representing complexity, we have the STC.
Now, as you said, there really wasn't much between these two players. It was not a massive win for STC at one point in particular. It was just very slowly clawing a bit closer to the victory, getting a slight advantage over multiple engagements, multiple drops, and really the entire duration of the game. MorroW is capable of taking a game off the STC.
He is. I mean, the players were basically neck and neck for so long in the game, and it was only the last 5 minutes where the STC was really starting to bend MorroW over and eventually broke his back. Until that point, MorroW was actually holding on very, very well indeed. So, we'll see if he can come back in this particular game. We see, of course, Whirlwind is pretty famous for taking very long to scout your opponent and therefore more economical openings. And it looks like both sides are agreeing with this as we see both of them go for that command center first.
And it is any spawn positions as well on Whirlwind.
It is any spawn positions, yeah. So it just makes it that much more of a guessing game. So, yes, okay, it's still possible, for example, to 6-pool on Whirlwind and guess your opponent's position, luckily enough, and kill them, just as an example. But it becomes a bit of a numbers game. There are 3 possible spawn locations, and it's not really worth it for a 1 in 3 chance. So that's really the situation our players find themselves in here, as both of them continue to take a gas and they're putting down their barracks down at the same time. Completely identical build orders.
Really similar build orders, which means they should be relatively passive for the early stage of this game. There's not really much you can do when you have gone command center first. There should be bunkers put up for both players outside their natural base, or just at the ramp of their natural bases, just to defend against any aggression that could be coming. But then transitioning into a relatively quick factory and teching up perfectly normally.
Yeah, really not. Again, just like last game, almost nothing separating these two right now. Very, very solid players indeed. The STC, though, of course, enjoys that 1-0 advantage in the overall scoreline. MorroW has to win 2 games, the STC has to win 1. But, like we mentioned before, and it's definitely worth mentioning again, MorroW's perfectly capable of taking those games off of the STC.
And not just like one lucky game. He's capable
No, definitely not.
Well, winning the series. Definitely winning the series. And that is just because he is so well refined, he is ridiculously strong, and so is the STC.
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
Yeah, identical builds coming down yet again.
Oh, we have the
variation.
gas, finally.
Variation.
So the second gas being taken slightly earlier from the STC inside his main base, and by slightly earlier I mean a couple of seconds, so actually it really doesn't make too much of a difference. But crucially, we have the bunker going down from MorroW now, being a little bit more defensive-minded, and the STC allowing that, really just mixing up the bunker and the gas timing. Aside from that, not too much going on. Other than, once again, what's it with rocks and bricks, man? They've got a tough life already as is. People walk on them all day, and now they get shot at as well. Tough stuff.
They were put there. Well, to be fair, someone clearly was like fly tipping them. They wouldn't just appear. Like,
fly tipping is illegal, guys. If you see fly tipping, shoot at will.
Someone's going to take that literally. You know that now.
Disclaimer: that opinion is not true. Please do not shoot at will unless ordered to by a local authority.
That'd be the best local authority ever.
Would you go move there? You sure as I wouldn't fly tip.
If we have the tiniest city ever, because if we see anyone littering, all residents are instructed to shoot them.
Exactly. We've got the starport a little bit earlier coming out for MorroW. Hellions being built at the moment, and we've got the armories on the way for both players. So it looks like Hellbat drops are going to be a feature of this game so far. MorroW will be able to, by process of elimination, work out that the SEC is down here, but not before actually the Hellions see it. So he will just bump into him straight away. 2 Hellions versus 2 Hellions. As it turns out, 2 Hellions are likely to win that engagement unless both of them choose to back off.
Well, they both got the first shot off at pretty much identical times. It would have been such a close trade. It's better just to save them. And actually, STC being really smart, repairing up that Hellion to make sure that he can go back to fight another day. Hopefully MorroW will do the same. It would be somewhat a missed opportunity not to, but this central watchtower being held here by the STC, but because of these spawn positions, that watchtower doesn't actually make a huge amount of difference.
No, it doesn't. MorroW, of course, now knows that his opponent's in the bottom right-hand corner. The STC also now knows that his opponent's in the top right-hand corner. But aside from the scan, actually, neither of them are really setting foot in the other's base at the moment. I love what MorroW is doing right now. Look at the position of this barracks and the Viking. He will be able to spot potential drops coming in very, very quickly indeed. The SEC going to try and prod around the front, possibly, with some Hellions once again. But he won't be able to get too far, and I love this from the SEC as well. What I like to call the GM supply depots, the early warning signs of impending drops.
And that's such a smart thing to do as well, because this is one of these maps, especially in these spawn positions, a medevac can easily come and land off on the cliff edge and then quickly go for the Hellbat drops coming in. If you don't have those supply depots there, it can catch you completely by surprise, so you've got to be careful. And this isn't a criticism, but MorroW hasn't done the same. Yet.
No, he hasn't.
He's doing it now.
I mean, he's doing it now. Oh, and the Vikings are actually doing a very good job of patrolling. And look at this, Hellions versus Hellbats is actually one of the saddest things you can possibly do, because the Hellbats never get in range of the Hellions. They're able to kite them forever and a day. So in theory, the Hellions are going to win this one. But the Hellbats are actually getting a decent amount of damage off, and now they're going towards the mineral line. Needs to be very, very careful there. Number of workers killed, 3 at the moment for the STC, and that's because there's another Hellbat drop going down in the natural expansion. But 2 Hellbats versus 1 Hellbat equals a victory for MorroW at the cost of 4 workers. So the current worker count 46 to 41 in favor of the STC.
Vikings, though, they are out for STC 2. Air superiority going to be really important here, but MorroW does have 1 additional Viking, and following on from your logic of 2 Hellbats versus 1, 3 Vikings versus 2 is also a pretty good trade.
It's true.
Oh no, medevac's going to go down. Both Vikings to STC die for no losses on MorroW's side. That's a really, really nice trade.
Yeah, that's very, very nice. Those 3 Vikings able to pick apart the 2, but with no losses from MorroW's side. That's going to be very comfortable for his air superiority, and it's also going to make drops a little bit more difficult. But the STC going to try anyway, and I think a big key, by the way, Maddles, is really this watchtower in the middle right here, because we can see this SCV with the vision allows STC to have the confidence to move his medevacs through the middle of the map. If MorroW was holding this watchtower instead, there would be a very, very narrow strip of land over which these medevacs can fly in order to reach his opponent's base, and that's very easily covered by something like a Viking from MorroW.
The STC, though, he's going in towards the main at the same time. Double drop zone coming down in the main base. But STC with those supply depots, he saw it. Now the missile tide is going to start chipping away at that medevac, but it will be able to get out of range very easily. Now look at all those SCVs. The Hellbats are not going to try and chase them down. At the same time, though, oh, they do chase him down now.
SCVs. A second shot might be very, very good for him right now. Just about getting out of range there. And the SEC microing quite a lot. MorroW needs to be very careful with those SCVs. They're being sent back to mine, but he needs to run away once again. Those Hellbats are still on the loose. And it looks like the SEC will not be able to get additional SCVs on this particular occasion. Only just saving all of them. So, basically getting out of jail a little bit there. We've got 3 Vikings coming in from the SEC now towards the natural expansion.
And these Vikings are going to try and get a nice trade, and they do manage to pick it off and get a medevac too. That's actually something which is quite nice to see go. But the STC is still ahead in supply. Yes. Admittedly by 14, but he's ahead.
And he's got 60 workers to 50 as well. So the third base really for the STC though is only now just floating over. Let's take a look at what the third base is looking like. It's actually already landed for MorroW, so he has the opportunity to try and come back a little bit in terms of economy here, just squeeze that little bit of income out of it. But he hasn't been taking the watchtower, so these drops, the SEC feels safe putting these drops down all game long, I feel, because MorroW hasn't bothered to take the area of land that's really underneath these. He's now finally going to take the watchtower, but we have Hellbat drops. Oh, and this one is very good indeed.
It is. It's already done a lot of damage, but at the same time, one coming in towards the main base, and this is what STC needs to be doing. Forcing MorroW to try and be in 2 places at once. This multitasking is taxing, and if the SEC keeps it up, he's going to be successful with him. He's already killed.
Those SCVs! No, don't target the tank! He targeted the tank. Oh, if he was microing those, he could have got 7 or 8 SCVs out of that. That was potentially huge. MorroW with the air superiority by the looks of things. 4 Viking versus 3, now 3 versus 2, and now 2 versus 1. I think you can work out where this is going, and it is in MorroW's favor though. But 2 more Vikings pop up from the STC, trying to do a little bit of help there, and this Viking going to be abandoning his friend and then landing. A little bit rude of him.
Now, how many workers have been killed?
Number of workers being killed this game, 19-1 in favor of the STC. He's currently at 126 supply versus 105 from MorroW.
That is... It's a big difference. It's still not game-breaking, losing 19 workers, but it's going to make it tougher. STC is slowly pulling ahead. His third base is up and running as well. He's getting more factories down. His tank count looking quite nice. His Viking count looking quite nice. But MorroW is pushing across the map, but I just don't think he's got enough to break that defensive position. Yeah, this is a really tough situation to be in right now for MorroW. He wants to be able to do something aggressive, but he's also wondering at the same time, do I actually have a large enough army to do this? And that scan dissuaded him from doing it. The STC has got his tanks sieged up and ready to defend against anything MorroW has to offer right now. And as a direct result of that, MorroW does have to turtle up. He doesn't have the air superiority, which is what he oh so desperately desires right now. 14 Hellbats are on both sides, 5 tanks on both sides. There are an additional 4 Marines though for STC. That can make... No, it won't make all the difference, but...
I'm afraid it won't, not with this many tanks in the composition as well. And he's going to be moving out is the STC with his Vikings, with his Hellbats as well. Going into sensor tower range just about here. And a scan does reveal that those are Vikings. He's trying to pick these units apart before he has a chance to move forward with them. So he's actually pushing this army back while the rest of the STC's army comfortably waits at the watchtower here. If there are no medevacs and no Vikings by the loot team, that's not very good. If there are no medevacs and no Vikings hanging around by the time this engagement happens, then that air superiority for the STC is going to matter so much.
And the thing is, these two are really close to the moment. As in, the supplies don't tell the full story, in my opinion. Their army supplies are ridiculously near, but look at the small things. Scans coming off for STC. Sees MorroW is completely unsieged. This is a nice moment to move in if you want to. The Viking count so superior for STC now, getting the first 2 shots up, and this could be really awkward, and that Viking dies just as it's trying to land.
That's absolutely huge, actually, because it's now 6 Vikings to 1 in favor of the STC. So look at Vikings are flying wherever the heck they want at the moment. He's going to try and camp out the starport as well, which I think is such a good move right now. This starport has 2 Vikings coming out, but there are 6 right outside it. Oh, he needs to be careful. He doesn't go via that missile turret. And there go the Vikings, rallied in the opposite direction because he knows the STC is waiting.
And the STC, oh, these Vikings just love the missile turrets. Just standing or flying right over top of them. That is not what you want to do, losing Vikings for absolutely nothing. But STC is securing his 4th base. But at the same time, MorroW has got his 4th base coming down. But just in a slightly different position because he doesn't want to be expanding towards his opponent.
It's tricky. I think the infrastructure is going in the STC's favor at the moment. He also has 2 additional factories that MorroW does not. And MorroW's in a position where he's a little bit uncomfortable because of that lack of air superiority. Luckily, the STC hasn't been that great at avoiding missile turrets, so MorroW is going to feel a little bit better about moving out. But he's lost so many Vikings now to the ninja antics of this group here from the STC that it's very difficult for him to move out. The STC also now coming in. Wow, triple drop into the main base with 4 siege tanks as well. This is no joke. And look at this 4th base, which is immediately lifting, and all of these STV's lives are forfeit.
Those 4 tanks in the main base are going to be really irritating, but Vikings will stop their retreat. Currently, supply depot is going down. A couple of Hellbats getting shelled too, but the Vikings landing now for MorroW. He's got his own tanks there. He's going to be able to clean this out. And nothing catastrophic's been done. MorroW, yes, he is supply blocked, and that is a frustration, but he can clear that as long as he actually does something about it, which now he is.
Oh, he definitely is. Now look at this. The entire army trying to come up the ramp. These 3 tanks are doing so much damage with siege, but these unsieged tanks, of course, do higher DPS once they get in range. So even though those siege tanks were traded cost effectively from the STC rather, the rest of this army is going to succeed in wiping that out. And all that remains, once again, are the Vikings. So the STC still enjoying that air dominance.
Now there's a big push coming in for STC, heading straight in. The Vikings just landing, killing a couple of SCVs, and then just taking off again to get out of danger range. STC also making 4 command centers at once. He is going into late game terrain, which is where you just get as many mules as humanly possible. But, ooh, more bases coming down. More Vikings coming down. Upgrades very similar as well.
I think we need to really talk about the bases coming down here, because what the difference is between these 2 players right now is that MorroW is expanding and grabbing his 4th base, as we see, ooh, a couple of units actually getting caught out here by MorroW, but the STC is expanding like there's no tomorrow. Look at this. Planetary Fortress, 3 additional command centers. He's got his 5th base coming down and ready to mine as well over here, whereas MorroW is struggling to hold on to his 4. 2 landed Vikings from the STC, causing him a lot of grief here, and now MorroW decides to push in up the ramp. These tanks do not stand a chance. And, well...
Counter-attack though from MorroW, that's coming in, and there isn't that much to defend for the STC. He does have a good tank line, but SCV is being forced to pull unsiege tanks, as you said. If they get in range, deal higher DPS. But there is just so many siege tanks here. Vikings landing for MorroW on top of them to try and take them out. And this is MorroW pushing through, but at the same time, STC, he's pushing into the natural base of MorroW as well, after forcing the third to retreat.
Oh my god, the
SCVs!
Oh dear, that was an absolute massacre. Someone should make a gif of that and hang it in front of my face when I feel smug, because that's just going to make me sad every time I look at it. How many SCVs lost their lives right there? The STC still trying to defend against this counter push coming out from MorroW. A lot of tanks and a Thor in this composition as well. That Thor really soaking up an awful lot of damage, now down to 36 hit points. And the production structures from the STC are being camped out now, so that's no joke for him. But he, at the same time, has completely annihilated the natural. The fourth base at the moment, this single Viking might consider landing and trying to take out as many of those as possible. The third base is also completely dust.
The production capabilities of the STC are slowly getting taken out. MorroW, he's in a nice siege position. At the same time, the STC, he's either got to really push in with this or try and move back. He does have the additional command centers, but it's the loss of production capability that's hurting him. However, MorroW has no income, apart from this base up in the top center position. But STC is going to go and put it into that potentially.
Well, the STC is actually... he's in a little bit of a tough spot because, look, his production structures are kind of being sieged up at the moment, but MorroW's production structures inside his main base are still completely fine. He is mining from this fourth base right now, and that's what the STC is trying to take out. Basically, he said, okay, look, my production structures are in trouble, yours seem to be fine, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure you don't have any money to build out of those production structures. What do you say? And the STC is rebuilding a lot of production structures over here at the fourth base location, and I think these additional bases right here on the bottom left-hand corner of the map might make the difference here. That's what the STC is banking on.
MorroW is slowly clearing out this tank infestation, his tank siege line. He's going to drop some Hellbats on top of them. Really smart move there. And yeah, this is MorroW really playing well, but so is the STC. These two are fighting tooth and nail for it, but the problem is MorroW just has no money at the moment.
And the world's most random and lonely supply depot, ladies and gentlemen, over here on the left-hand side of the map. I have absolutely no idea.
He wanted to be a pylon.
He did want to be a pylon, but I'm not sure how much that's going to work. And we have got two medevacs dropping on top of this siege line here, in addition to two tanks coming in from the top. Oh, and more from the bottom completely annihilates this force. So the STC no longer in a position where he's kind of held back and pinned between his main and his natural. But MorroW coming in for round number 2, and these tanks become mincemeat very, very quickly indeed, going for an all-out engagement. MorroW doing a great job so far. These tanks getting completely torn apart left, right, and center. But look at these reinforcements. 5 sieged up tanks doing an incredible amount of DPS, and MorroW sustaining heavy damage, but his Hellbats managing to win the day.
Just managing to win the day, though. This is incredibly close. Is MorroW going to be able to punch his way through? He is 5 supply behind, but here comes the Hellbat drop into the mineral line. But this mineral line isn't key, because STC has 2 more. MorroW is now mining his 3rd and 4th base, but there was 4 mining bases for STC. His production capabilities, though, are getting taken out, and MorroW has taken the supply advantage for the first time in a long while.
That's right, 107 to 102 at the moment. MorroW looking like he might be able to push this to a game number 3 right now. The 4th base location is under attack, and, well, the STC doesn't look like he'll be able to defend it at the moment, so these factories are going to go down as well. Let's take a look at these bases here. A single Hellbat is doing so much damage to the STC's economy at this base, and does he know about this one as well? Yes, he does, so MorroW is everywhere right now. The STC is going to have to seriously pull a fast one if he wants to win this game and take the series 2-0, because MorroW is performing spectacularly.
MorroW is doing everything he needs to right now. He's resecured his 3rd and 4th base, which means that he's got that income he so desperately needs. Yes, the STC does have 2,000 minerals in the bank.
Oh, and that bank might prove to be really important, because he needs to basically stave off dying, because MorroW's multitasking has been really, really good in the last 5 minutes.
It's been incredibly solid, and because of this, actually MorroW is just going to keep making his way forward. He's about to take out this base in the bottom left, which doesn't actually have... Well, it's a planetary fortress, but the siege tanks can deal with that if need be. And then there's also that base at the very bottom left, but it's been discovered already by MorroW.
Yeah, MorroW is just doing a great job of preventing expansion right now. The STC is going back up to the 3 o'clock position to try and get another base up. And we can see he's now secured the southern base as well, but really there's not much there to secure. He needs to start building that command center very quickly indeed. Meanwhile, these 3 tanks are continuing to shell away at the planetary fortress, which is getting repaired just as quickly by these SCVs. So the STC looking to come and defend it. He does not want it to go down, and we have a counterattack. And by counterattack, I mean a barracks has decided to land in the 12 o'clock base.
Because, you know, that might do something one day.
Obviously, and no! I hid you away, I thought it was perfect.
And that actually supply blocks MorroW, which is a bit frustrating, but the Hellbats now coming in. The tanks are focusing fire on the planetary fortress, so all they've really done there is wasted a bit of mining time, but what they've also done is pulled all of STC's army back, and MorroW is now pushing in towards the 4th base, I'm going to call it.
Oh my god, he's currently down in supply though, 124 to 168, but he was in such a good position to not hit these bases. Is the STC's economy simply too good for MorroW to keep up with right now? We'll find out in just a minute. That planetary fortress is looking like it is about to go down, and it does indeed. These SCVs managed to get a little bit of amnesty on the grounds that those tanks actually were morphing back from being in siege mode, but now we have the counterattack against this orbital command over here at the 3rd base location. MorroW getting potentially some SCVs roasted. They need to run away from these Hellbats, but it's going to prove difficult. Are these two going to go off to the side? Yes, they managed to kill a few, but not too many there.
At the same time, STC is pushing in towards the 5th base of MorroW with a good number of units. His 6th base also taking a bit of fire with that landed barracks, scouting all of the stuff. And this is forcing MorroW to get back and defend, try and hold off. And all the while, STC has still got more bases up and running. His income.
Don't worry, Hellbat.
Really
Reinforcements.
One Marine. One Marine.
Just as the command center gets cancelled as well.
Well, this game is starting to... It went from STC looking dominant to MorroW looking dominant, back to STC.
Back to the STC.
And the
nice
MorroW...
that drop on top of those siege tanks as well. MorroW doing a great job trying to defend this, but he is just supplied down right now, and the difference is this mining base on the left-hand side, and now, plus this base, which will soon be saturated on the right-hand side. We can actually see the STC taking some gas there as well. So he's going to stand in good stead going into the late game, and it really is the income that's making the difference. MorroW has otherwise played brilliantly here, and oh good god.
Well, we've got the Vikings landing at the same time. We've got a big engagement in the centre. Hellbats on Hellbats, tanks on tanks. And MorroW winning this engagement very convincingly. But the Vikings killing off the income, or killing off their workers for MorroW, means that the income is 101 workers killed.
That's unbelievable in this game. And the economy is really where the story is being told, guys. This orbital command constantly being repaired, but MorroW does not have a bank right now. The SE still kind of has a semblance of one, and now we have the Vikings landing, trying to pick apart the SCVs. We'll see what happens. MorroW with the counterattack. He's been doing so well with these engagements and the pushes, but he's down in supply heavily. He's down to 62 supply now versus the 140 from the SEC. Are these siege tanks going to be his last line of defense? It looks like they are, and these unsieged tanks finish off the army for MorroW. I think finally, GG.
He just had no money left.